Hey, what's up, coach? Welcome to another episode of Build with the CEO. I am your resident CEO, Trevor. I'm the CEO of Coach Catalyst, and I'm excited to be here. It is 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, which means we're live and we're talking about coaching and we're teaching. And this month is all about client experience. So every week we've been touching on a different kind of component of the client experience because that's ultimately like what we're in the business of, right? Is the client experience. And I don't know if a week goes by where I don't get the question on Trevor, should I do a community? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Should you do a community? Yes or no? And I will hopefully give you a little bit of a roadmap to should I or shouldn't I do a community? And then if you do choose to do a community, there are some best practices around executing a community so it's actually successful and it's not just something that dies a quick death. So let's get into it. All right. So community, kind of what is it? Let's define it first. And I'll kind of actually give you a little bit of some insight from our gym. And so at our gyms, we attract people with a promise. We're going to help them achieve a certain result, right? And then we're going to do our best while they're a client to help them achieve that result. But that client staying long term typically isn't determined by whether or not they achieve the result. That client staying with us long term is typically determined by how integrated they get into the community. And when I really sat down and thought about this, I was like, you know what? We've had a lot of clients that they came to us to maybe lose 15, 20 pounds. They haven't lost a single pound since they've been here. Yes, there have been other benefits and things that have happened along the way where their life is better because they continue to show up and work with us. But they hang around because they are so connected to other people. It's like the highlight of their day coming into the gym. And when I go back and think about it, sometimes people join not because they may think on the surface that they maybe want to lose 15, 20 pounds or whatever the promise you may have that they resonate with. But like ultimately, they're looking for something deeper. They're looking for connection. They're looking for community, for lack of a better term. And so we talk internally about how do we help people get integrated into the community and be part of the community. And once they do that, we know that we have a client for a really, really long time. Now, when we move into the online world, into a virtual setting, most of you are familiar with Facebook groups, right? Facebook groups are essentially a version of a community. And I think Facebook groups are great. And I'll talk about where and how I would use Facebook groups in the whole kind of grand scheme of things. But it's a little bit harder to build a community online because I don't have that physical presence. But there are things that you can do in order to make it a little bit easier. And we've done components of it even in an offline business. We've built some online communities. So let's talk about first and foremost whether or not you should do a community. And here's the deciding factor. Communities work. Yes, they do. Right. There's a whole companies that are built around this. School, for example, right? Facebook groups are super popular. So communities work. They are possible, right? But the people that do them well are the people that dedicate to nurturing and building that community. It really should be the opposite way around, building and nurturing that community. The people that fail fast are the ones that think they can just open a community or just create a community, add a bunch of people to it, and then everyone will just naturally start interacting, right? It just doesn't work that way. And it doesn't work that way in like the real world either, right? If you throw a party, right, and you just invite a bunch of people to the party that none of them know each other, they're all from different walks of life, it's going to kind of be a little bit awkward right away, right? Because you're in a physical space, there may be a little bit of interaction happening because you're there, and it's going to get super awkward if you don't do anything, right? In the online world, you can just bounce and there is no awkwardness to drive it forward. But the better the host, the better the community. So if you're throwing a party, if you're the host and you're introducing people and you're calling people out and you're like having fun and you are driving the engagement of the party, it's an awesome party because then people start to get to know each other and then they don't need the prompt of the host or the assistant of the host to make it happen. This can take days, this can take weeks, this can take months, right? Depending on the type of community that you're building. And so my number one rule is if you're not willing to be the host of the community and honestly willing to put in daily effort into that community, don't do one. It's better for you to not have a community than it is to have one that just runs poorly or doesn't really do anything. So if you do have a community or if you want to have a community, then you need to commit to a period of time of nurturing, hosting, being a great host, and driving the community. And for most people, I'd probably say about 3 months. If you can't get something off the ground and moving in 3 months and you have enough clients to make it work, then maybe it's not right for your market, right? And that's cool too. So that's number one. You have to be dedicated to it. If you're not dedicated to it, they die a fast death. And we personally know this, right? We've done it. We've been doing versions of communities for the past decade, and some of them hit and they're awesome, and then other times they just kind of fall flat. And I'll give you some of those insights into that in this episode. So you have to decide, will I commit to it or not? And commit to a certain time frame. Don't just say I'm going to commit, but like give it enough time. 12 weeks, I think, is a good period of time for things to start rocking and rolling. So let's assume that you have decided that a community is right for you. Let's talk about the different types of communities. So if you don't know, inside of Coach Catalyst, we built a community feature because we wanted you as the coach to be able to own the community. We don't want your posts to be censored. We don't want an algorithm to determine whether or not your posts are seen. We want you to have a VIP place where only your clients can interact. Okay? That's why we developed a community. But it may not be the best place to run your community. If you are using a community as a free front end lead source, right? I would fish where the fish are. If your fish are on Facebook, then you should have a Facebook group where you're willing to get in there, nurture, provide value with the intent of moving people into your coaching program. Why Facebook? Well, people are already on Facebook, right? They're going there not because of your community or because of your group. That may be an added bonus, but they're going there for entertainment. They might be going there to, zone out for a period of time, relaxation, right? They're going there for different reasons. And those reasons are strong enough for them to keep going back there. It's a reason why Facebook has billions of users. Right. So they keep going back. And while they're there, they maybe get the notification that there was a new post in the community. So then they click into the community and then they spend that time there. But then they probably bounce out and they go other places. But they're going to be there consistently. So if you're looking for free, right, if you're looking for lead gen, the Coach Catalyst community is not the best place for it. And maybe that sounds like, yes, I run a software company and yes, I'd like you to have more users on the platform, but in all honesty, the best place is to be where people live. So if your community hangs out in school, cool. Like creating a free school community is an awesome place that you can really build this audience, provide value for the audience, and then put offers in front of them. Okay. Facebook, school, great places for that free community. Now, once people become paying members, right, they cross a line, and now we want to kind of put them behind the velvet rope and let them in to our private space. Okay. And the private space is specific to them. Now, in any sort of community, we need to have a plan. The biggest mistake I see a lot of coaches make that want to do a community is they don't have any sort of plan. So without a plan, there is no consistency. We're just posting randomly here and there, and we're expecting things to take off. Okay. Like anything, there is a ton of work at the beginning, right? It's like if you are pushing a large rock, a boulder, let's call it, right? And let's say you can actually move it, right? To get the thing moving, you have to use an extraordinary amount of energy. But once the thing is moving, we just need a little bit of energy to keep it moving. So we can also use the plane analogy. A vast majority of the plane's fuel is in takeoff, right? Not necessarily in cruising, because you have to overcome gravity and inertia and all of these things to get up to speed. Same thing in any business building and really any community building. There's going to be a lot of inertia right away. Okay. And so we have to be willing to fight through that because it will be there at the beginning and it will be crickets at the beginning and it's going to take some time. So having consistency, having a plan, having a posting rhythm is really, really important. And then the other piece too is like, who is this community actually for? Right? If your clients kind of all fall into the same bucket, right, then it's probably pretty easy, right? They're all trying to work on something specific, or they all came to you because you're an expert in something, and so you're going to be talking deeper on those things, right? And so that makes it easy. But if you do have this kind of like mishmash of people, then you want to really hone in on like, who am I going to be serving in this community, because it needs to be very specific, or people aren't going to see value in it, and they might come once but then they never come back. So we want to have some clarity around who the community is serving. We want to have consistency inside of our posting, and then we need to find ways to create connection within a community. We don't want it to just be another delivery system of information, because people can get that anywhere. We need to foster connection. And how we foster connection is by tagging people, asking them questions, asking them to respond, asking for their opinion. And we start to create conversations and dialogue around different topics. And we encourage members to engage. And if we haven't heard from someone, we tag them. It's all about including everybody in the party and making sure everyone has a voice in the party if they want. And it's going to be a ton of work at the beginning, because certain people are going to want to connect and jump in, and it's a small percentage. But you need to get the kind of second and third tier people that need to be prompted a little bit to engage, because it's new, right? It might be a little bit scary, and they just need kind of a helping hand into the community. And if you can get those people, that will give you enough to get this thing rolling and then continue with it. But it will die again if we lose some of that consistency. So we need to have some sort of rhythm, right? So our three big things from our community are clarity, like, who is this for, and what do members get from it? That's actually a really, really big question, because this isn't about you. This is about your members, right? Why should they show up? Why should they come to the community? What value are they getting from the community? We need to ask those questions before we go. So what do your members get from it? And if we can't clearly define that, we're not ready. Okay. And if it is connection, cool. Like, what are we doing then to foster connection? And if we can't answer that question, we're not ready yet. Right. So number one is clarity. Number two is consistency. Do we actually have a plan for posting? And you can have themes, right? Monday we do this, Tuesday we do this, Wednesday we can have these ritual type stuff, which is really helpful from a posting standpoint, right? It shouldn't just be like memes, or it shouldn't just be like motivational quotes or things like that, right? There should be some purpose behind it. We can sprinkle some of that stuff in, but we want things that actually get people to engage, right? So they have a reason to show up, right? When you have clients that start tagging other clients, that's when you've kind of gotten over the hump, because now it's no longer reliant on you to drive all of the conversation. Clients are engaging with each other. Okay. And then the last one is connection. We want people to feel seen inside of these community. Now, when I say community, most people think of like really large, right? All of my members, or maybe 50 people, 100 people, 200 people. While I think that can be helpful and I think that can work, I honestly believe that smaller communities, just handful of people, 5, 6, 10 people, can be even more impactful, because if it's a smaller community, I'm not just kind of a number in the community, and I can't just kind of like hang back. And so I'm an active participant in it. So if you're running, let's say, cohort type programs, everyone starts on this date, we go through the curriculum together. That's a great opportunity to have a community, and everyone gets to know each other, right? And then as long as you're giving people opportunities to, in a way, be vulnerable. Why did you join this particular program? What are you looking to get out of it, right? We want people to find connections in each other, asking questions around people's hobbies or what they do for fun, or if they have a free day, if they have a free day on unlimited money, what are they choosing to do on that particular day, right? We want to find, hey, connections between people that are outside of this program, right? This program is already one connection. People who have similar goals, awesome. But are we super interested in whiskey, right? Are we super interested in like exotic cars? Are we interested in knitting? Are we interested in bird watching? It doesn't really matter, but we need to try and tease those out in people, right? And so others can find those connection points. Okay. And sometimes it's great for you as the host, if you know more than what's maybe been shared publicly, is you can introduce a couple people and be like, hey, so and so is super interested in marine life. This person just took a trip to the Galapagos Islands. Cool. Like, and let them engage a little bit that way to just build that community. Because this, honestly, community is the secret sauce. Extremely hard to do well, but if you can figure it out, it creates a stickiness to your coaching that really can't be matched anywhere else. Okay. So I talked a little bit about hosting as well. Where should we host it? I think if it's free, you need to pick a platform that people are already going to, Facebook groups, school, yada, yada, yada. Right. But if you're using Coach Catalyst and clients are in the app every day, they're getting part of their education, they're, reading lessons, they're checking off their actions, they're doing the workouts. I think it makes a lot of sense to just have it right there. Right. And I also like to use lessons as a way to drive people into the community. And I'll talk about some other kind of tools we use to drive inside of the community. And if you are a Supercoach CRM user, there is a kind of school-like version inside of Supercoach CRM that you can use as a free community as well. But just know that, like, we're taking people from their kind of regular patterns, it can be harder. We have more inertia to overcome, right? Versus if we're just fishing where people already are, right? If we're trying to get people that are in Facebook, that's where our clients live, then doing a Facebook group just makes a lot of sense, right? Because they're there. So, all right. So we got a community going. Like, what are some things that we should post, right, inside a community? Some things that worked really, really well for us, and we've done communities as part of our challenges. So think a cohort model, right, where everyone's starting together. One of the best things we ever post or we ever ask is, why did you join the challenge or the program or whatever? Right. And this is actually marketing gold for us because we understand people's reasoning behind, and then we can kind of tweak our marketing to fit the language that people are actually using. Right. And one way that we get people to post consistently is we incentivize it, meaning it's part of the program. All of our programs have what we call a benchmark, meaning they're getting points. They're getting points for everything they do, points for actions they've completed, points. Really, it's all based around actions because posting in the community, they have to tick off that they did it, right? So they're getting points, and we set a benchmark. 80%, 85%, 90%, 95%, really depends on the duration and the challenge. And if someone hits that benchmark, okay, they get 90% compliance, they win, right? They get entered into a raffle to win stuff. And then they also typically get some sort of prize, coffee mug, t-shirt, lots of things. And because we incentivize the community posting, right, it's just part of the program. Every week we have a different question that they have to answer inside of the community. And it just gets really good engagement because it's gamified, they're incentivized, and it's not just like, hey, you should post in the community. So the one we do on the first week every week is, why did you join? It's awesome. Okay. And then throughout the middle, we do kind of fun stuff like post your favorite recipe. You've been probably changing a little bit about what you've eating. We've been challenging you to get out and find some recipes. What's one great one you found? Right. So we're crowdsourcing here. So now I see value as a client to come back to it. Like, oh, hey, I want to see all the recipes that are being posted. Right. Another one, we have just people like post like a win or something like that. What was one win from this week? Based upon the challenge, the things that you're doing. Yes, a lot of this stuff is hard. What's one thing you can pat yourself on the back for this week? Right? We want people to brag inside of the community. We could do some that are education based if we want to do kind of that type of content bucket. But I actually like to sprinkle those in with engagement type posts. So I like to have at least one engagement post a week where people are going to kind of engage, share information, and typically want to try and incentivize that kind of stuff. Right. Then we can have some education type stuff, tips, quick wins, things like that, where people can then interact, and give us some of their feedback. We can have weekly rituals where you might do hey, we post our win on Wednesdays, right? But again, can we incentivize people? Can we say, hey, everyone that posts a win is going to go into a raffle for a free tub of protein this week or something like that, right? And again, we can deliver this in a lesson so it's front and center so people know, because this is going to be a new behavior for people. So we need to drive them there. And so if we do this in different ways, whether it's through a lesson, maybe it's an automated message that goes out like, hey, here's our community post this week. I'd love to know your insight in this. Right? We want to drive people to this community because at the beginning, it's a new behavior that we need to create more triggers for. And then once they get into the routine of getting in there consistently, and then that routine is is like reinforced by I get something positive out of each time that I'm in there, right? We're creating this feedback loop that makes someone want to continue to come back. Another place that I really like to use communities is for recognition, right? Something someone did this week that's awesome. Progress shout outs. If you have like a member of the month or client of the month or client of the week or something like that, I think there's a community is a great place to showcase those and to really celebrate, especially if one of your tenants or one of your values of the community is celebrating each other, right? Then we can use that as a safe place to celebrate. It's not just like public everywhere. This is our people. We're all in this together, and it's a great place. It's a great place to celebrate. And then if we're not necessarily running like a cohort model where we have like an evergreen where people are always coming and going, obviously having an intro post where you introduce someone into the community. I think it's almost better if you introduce them versus if they introduce themselves, because you're the host, you're the curator. And then if you bring someone in the community, they're going to be looked upon with favor if they're introduced by you, because everyone is assuming that you vetted them and they make sense for this community and they're going to be a great fit. Right. So you introducing them gives a little bit more juice. And then you really need to model what you want. If you want people commenting and posting and those kind of things, you need to model that, especially right away. You have to go first. Right. And then if we're not getting engagement or if we haven't heard from someone in a while, start to tag people, right? Give them a tag, bring them back, try and get them back in the community. If we still haven't heard from them, shoot them a message. Hey, I tagged you in the community. Did you see it? Right. Maybe something happened. And so we have to be proactive in building this thing. That's why at the beginning, I basically said you have to either commit to this or not. And if you can't fully commit to it for a period of time, it's not worth doing. So you have to make the decision. And then if you do make the decision, do the things you need to do in order for it to be successful. And that is things that aren't scalable, right? It's reaching out to people that maybe haven't participated in a little while, right? And then ultimately, you're the host, you're the curator, right? And so you got to make sure that the community stays safe, right? We don't want any bad actors. We want it to be a place where people can be their kind of vulnerable selves, right? You need to celebrate. You need to make introductions. You need to be the host, right? Think about yourself as a host at a party. That party is happening every day. So you got to continue to show up. And if you do this well, and you are consistent with it and you get great engagement, this is like a retention multiplier at the end of the day. Like people will hang around much longer than what potentially they should, because they are part of the community and they start to see themselves as part of this community. It's hard. It is super, super, super hard to do. But if you can crack the code on it, right, with some of the stuff that I've talked about earlier, it's going to be something that helps you build a really, really incredible business. So that's my spiel on community. It's what we've learned over the years. If you are running a great community, I'd love to hear about it, and what you're doing that's helped this thing work so well. Because I think being able to build a community is a skill. And if you can figure that skill out, you're never going to be searching for clients, because you're going to keep people for a really long time. And I'd rather, have incredible retention, right, than continuing to have to fill the bucket each time, because people are just falling out the bottom. So hopefully you got some insight into the community. Again, if you have some things that are working for you, or things that you've tried and didn't work, definitely share it in the comments. The most conversation is over on Facebook in the group. And I'll make sure that this replay gets posted throughout the week as we go along. If you have any questions, just make sure to tag me. Yeah, my name is Trevor, the CEO of Coach Catalyst, and I'm here every Tuesday answering questions, helping you build a better business and a better experience for your clients. So you guys have a great Tuesday. See ya.